Am I the asshole for calling my wife fat? Advice needed. I, 34M, work in a physically demanding field. Myself and my co-workers are all fit people, without a lot of body type variety. My wife, 32F, is fat. The thing is, she's always been fat. The whole time I've known her. We dated when she was fat, we got married when she was fat. She knows she's fat. She's fat, and she's beautiful. I'm happy if she loses weight, and I'm happy if she stays where she is. I think she's the most beautiful woman in the world as is. One of my co-workers, Julia, 28F, started complaining that she's too far to be loved, and fat people don't get to be loved. Julia isn't fat. She's maybe 120 pounds. She works out 5 times a week, and barely ever eats. I told her that wasn't true, and that my wife was fat. She got really red in the face, and started telling me I wasn't allowed to call my wife fat, that I was insulting her, and that my wife was beautiful and curvy. Carol doesn't like being called curvy. She thinks it's a label used to avoid calling people fat, because it's a dirty word to most people. I told Julia as much. Julia started threatening to tell my wife I called her fat. She pulled up her Instagram and told me she was messaging Carol that I was being mean. I beat her to the punch and called my wife. Put her on speaker and asked if she was curvy or fat. Carol laughed and said, "I hate that curvy shit. Fat and beautiful, baby." I thanked her, told her I loved her, and hung up. As soon as I hit end, Julia went mental. She started screaming that I was abusing my wife. When I asked how, she said I was clearly brainwashing her into accepting the term fat, to try to keep her complacent and from getting away from me. That no woman in her right mind could be okay with their husband calling them fat. I showed her a picture of my wife in a shirt that had BBW on it. She bought it for herself, by the way. She stormed off, and hasn't spoken to me since. Now, I just walked in today to an email from HR requesting a meeting with me. I don't think it's a big deal. I have my wife's blog for fat positivity, the shirt, and can easily call her for proof. But now, things are frigid at work, and Julia constantly gives me dirty looks when we're in the same room. She ignores me otherwise. So I'm just over here, scratching my head. AITA for calling my wife fat. Edit update, so I met with HR at 4 o'clock today. Apparently, multiple co-workers who had overheard the conversation stopped by HR through the day to give their side weigh in. I wasn't in trouble, they just wanted my side of things. It checked out with what everyone else had said, too. I still don't know which of my crew stopped by, but I owe them my life. I offered to show my wife's blog, and our rep, who's a really nice girl, told me that if it didn't affect my work, it was irrelevant. The story had been corroborated enough by others. HR reiterated a lot of what you all said. Even though Julia initiated the conversation, I shouldn't have jumped in. It was less of a scolding, and more of a request to keep my nose out of other people's business. I'm sad because I thought Julia and I were friends. We talked about our mental health struggles, the hardships of the field we're in, and heavy things like that. Won't be having those conversations any further. Julia and I will no longer be paired on teams for patient care. I was told my part in the investigation was done, and they thanked me for my time. So I think I'm going to be okay. Before I left, I told HR that if weight loss, body image wasn't supposed to be a topic of conversation, they should consider enforcing that on a company level. We have a weight loss challenge. I suggested making it a fitness challenge instead. She said they'd take it into consideration. So, that's it. I wrapped up my treatments. Everything will hopefully shake out. Haven't spoken to Julia, hoping to avoid her for the near future. Thank you all for the sanity check. Now, to quote Clue, I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife. AITA for refusing to take care of my children. Not the a-hole. I, 26F, gave birth to my second child 2 days ago. It was a beautiful home birth, so I was never discharged from the hospital. With my first and this pregnancy, I made it clear to my husband I wanted to follow the 5-5-5 rule. He seemed to drag his feet, but because he wanted kids more than I did, he agreed. I still love my kids dearly and wouldn't not have them now. I just didn't want to go through pregnancy. First 5 days in bed. Nothing but skin to skin with my daughter, breastfeeding and resting. Next 5 days on bed, sitting up, still breastfeeding, cuddling with baby, doing homework with my son, crossword puzzles, etc. Next 5 after that around bed. Still majority resting but doing light chores, folding laundry, diaper changing, just not standing for more than 30 minutes. All while still cuddling with baby, breastfeeding baby, doing homework with my son and coloring. This baby is very colicky and my husband is the one having to get out of bed, walk around with her and sit in the rocking chair, do diapers and take her and our son on walks to get some sunshine. Our son, 5, has started acting out at home due to the stress of the new baby and lack of sleep. We've offered him going to my parents next door and he seems interested. We've prepared a month's worth of freezer meals, so for dinner all he has to do is throw the disposable tin in the oven and walk away for a few hours. We have more than enough disposable dishwasher. We have a dog he needs to feed and take out in walks with the kids. Today he came to me crying, saying it was all too much and he couldn't do this by himself. I reminded him that he agreed to it and I have to go back to work shortly after the 5-5-5 is up, so I need to be as rested and healed as possible so I can better perform tasks at work, then come home and perform tasks as well. He begged me to help out with our son, who will not sit still, and help with light cleaning, wiping countertops, gathering clutter into a pile, etc. I again said no, I am entitled to rest and I will help around the house in 8 days. Edit to add, I'm not looking for advice on the 5-5-5 method. That's not what this post is about. Am I the asshole for ignoring our daughter's inconvenient boundary? Not the a-hole. My wife, 39F, and I, 36F, have a daughter, technically my stepdaughter, but I've raised her since she was 5, 19F, from a previous relationship of my wife's. Her father is not in the picture, who has come back home after her first year at uni. She's picked up a new and problematic issue since she was last home for an extended period of time, surrounding laundry. Basically, she has established a boundary where nobody is to touch her clothes. Her reasoning is that she's concerned something will go missing, get damaged, thinks it's just gross for us to go through her stuff, and is an adult who deserves privacy. All fine, we have 3 young children in our home, 9F, 9F and 2M, so plenty of washing to keep us entertained. The issue is that she has a habit of monopolizing washing facilities to the extent where we're effectively prevented from being able to get any other laundry done. For example, last weekend she put a wash in before work and hung it out on the line at around 11 a.m. She then left for work, 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Her wash was dry within an hour, and obviously she wasn't going to be back all day. We had a few days worth of washing to get through, so my wife, her mum, took everything off the line and folded it. We got through 5 other loads that day. She was not happy when she got home, and said that she'd been very clear that we weren't to touch her things. When we explained the situation above, she said it was first come, first served, not something we've ever said, and that since the next day was due to be nice also, we should have just waited to get through it the next day. That really pissed us off. We've offered her a weekly laundry day, where we'll avoid using the machine so she can have freedom to do as she pleases on that day, but she said once a week won't cut it. Fair enough, but there are 5 other people in the house that need clean clothes, bedding and towels. Other than that, all we can really suggest is that she keeps on top of her washing. If she's at home, we'll ask her to clear her clothes from the machine, dryer, washing line as needed, but like any 19-year-old she has a social life, work commitments and is often busy. She's upset because she says we're not respecting her boundaries, whereas we've pointed out that while "don't move my clothes" is objectively reasonable, it's not fair for her to do so at the inconvenience of everyone else in our home. Essentially, the last conversation we had ended up with her in tears because we said as long as situations like Saturday keep occurring, we'll continue to move her stuff. Just FYI, we do fold her clothes carefully and leave them in a basket in a communal living area so they're kept together, in good condition, and we're not going in and out of her room. We normally have a good relationship with her, so this is all a bit unusual. We've asked her if everything else is okay, and she says yes and seems otherwise normal in and of herself, and she's normally reasonable, so are we being unreasonable? Edit. So the consensus is pretty much that we're right, and our daughter is being massively unreasonable, and that we're being pushovers for not being tougher on her from the off. We've shown her the comments, and unfortunately she's still insisting that we're the unreasonable ones. We'd never considered the local laundromat, and have banned her from using our washing machine for the next fortnight given she's still unwilling to adjust. She absolutely furious, and wife has ordered a lock for the washroom door to enforce the 2-week rule. Hopefully a couple of weeks hauling her stuff to and from will help her see the light. Thanks very much all. Edit 2, a slightly calmer update this morning. Our daughter came to talk to us and apologized for the situation. She said she had found the transition back home hard, I get that, and had maybe become a bit territorial over her stuff while at uni. All okay. She then asked if she could please have a laundry day and be allowed to use the machine. Her place of work is closed Mondays, so that's now her day, and we've said that she can use the machine on other days, but if by 7 a.m. Tuesday there's anything in the way or any issues on any other days, we'll be moving her stuff. A genuine sorry goes a long way with us, and while the advice has been to hold firm, we don't really want an issue if the situation can be resolved calmly. We've also made it clear that if her things do have to be moved on any day, other than Monday, which is totally hers, and we get ANY grief about it, we'll go back to a 2-week ban and there's no going back. Maybe a less satisfying update than the last one, but we're happy we can resolve the problem calmly. She did mention she'd read through some of these comments last night, so thank you to everyone that weighed in.